So how do you get started with nurse clinics? Well, first of all, just you need to round up the appropriate resources. So make sure you've got enough kits, pens and literature in stock. These are all available from MSD and Abbott Animal Health. MSD, Hills and Abbott Animal Health are also really accommodating when it comes to lunch and learns. So I'd highly recommend booking them in to come in and talk to your staff. One really important thing to remember when doing nurse clinics is it is scary for clients. You need to have an understanding of the fear and the worry that clients go through. So it's a good idea to practice. You could practice explaining to the nurses, but also practice having nurses explain it to you, so you can see where the holes of communication are. Try to obviously advise, but don't push. Treatment isn't for everyone. And it's a hard decision to come to say, I'm not able to do this. And a lot of guilt plays part. So you have to be understanding. They'll love you for an understanding ear. And lots of clients will become your best friend going forward. Costing and estimating. This is quite a rough estimation. It was put together in 2014, so obviously there will be changes going forward. So for stabilisation, it's obviously very cost heavy because the first few months you've got lots of glucose curves, changing insulin, seeing the vet, seeing nurses. So these are the recommendations we give for the first couple of months. We can say this can be up to anything up to 6 months stabilisation can take, but obviously you'll probably know from experience that the majority of the time they don't take 6 months. But these costs do include everything. So consults, tests, glucose curves, all the insulin needles going forward. Maintenance is a monthly average. So again, this takes all the tests and consults and supplies over a year and just divides it by 12. So they'll never actually pay this per month going forward, but this is obviously an average. It doesn't include the cost of restabilisation if required. That will move back into the stabilisation column. A post-diagnosis consultation is very important. This is what we recommend the nurses to do once they've had the diagnosis consultation with the vet. The vet will probably take the client through a few of these, if not all of them, but I think it's good to give them time to digest and take them through it maybe in a more client-friendly fashion, and also give them opportunity to ask questions. So, what is diabetes? As discussed previously, it's best to explain this in a client-friendly fashion. So, with a better understanding of the disease will really help with control and maintenance and client compliance. What is meaning of diagnosis? Diagnosis means a lifelong commitment with regards to routine and finances. There is no quick fix. So a high amount of commitment is required by the client. What successful stabilisation? So as we said, there's no quick fix. Stabilisation can take up to 6 months, and the first 6 months are the most cost and time heavy. What does successful management require? It requires regular and consistent levels of exercise, diet and insulin. Consistency is the key. Spotting a hypo. Symptoms of what to do in the event of a hypo is very important to be explained. If you've got the literature from MSD, there's also part in the book that explains this as well for the clients to take home and read and digest. Point of contact. This should ideally be one vet and one nurse, yourself, so they feel they can approach you with questions or if they're worried about anything. But you should reassure them all that all vets and nurses are able to discuss any case. A diet. Obviously, a prescription diet would be best, and when to feed. So as we said before, cats are ad lib, but dogs need to be roughly around the same time as they get their insulin. Diary keeping. This is really underused, but a really helpful tool. The owner will be the one to notice the differences in the animal. You only see them every so often. I would recommend that the owner brings the diary in though, because they may make notes of different changes that they forget to tell you in the consult. Insulin care. So insulin bottles must be handled fairly gently. They should be stored in the fridge, not because they need to be cold, but because they're light sensitive. So, if cartridges are in the vet pen, they don't need to be in the fridge because the vet pen has a cap that covers the cartridge. But any sort of unopened cartridges or insulin bottles out of the box needs to be kept in the fridge or in a very dark cupboard. And it should be used within 28 days. It should not be open for longer than that. Cat remission. Cat remission can occur in into 25% of cats within the first few months. So it's important to make the owner aware that this is a possibility and to look out for changes like going into hypos on a regular occurrence. And complications. So what do they need to expect in the future? But I will talk about this in detail further on. The handouts are the diabetic diary from MSD, the Living with Diabetic Cat or Dog booklet from MSD, a DVD to support this, a vet pen instruction DVD where applicable, all the equipment including vet pen, syringes, needles and sharp spin if required, and also a diabetic collar tag request form, which gives free tags to say that they're diabetic. You just need to fax the form through. These are also available from MSD. So, syringes versus vet pen. When are either appropriate? So, bottles are available in 2.5 or 10ml bottles. Animals on 6 units twice daily or less must be on 2.5ml bottles only. This is because a 10ml bottle will last months and months and months. And as previously said, they shouldn't be open for longer than 28 days. But clients may ignore this. So it's important, you can give them a number of 2.5ml bottles up to the value of 10ml, but it's important that they don't have a whole 10ml bottle. And there's very little price difference in this. As previously said, they must be kept in the fridge in a non-light environment. And they must be used with penicillin syringes only, because they're calibrated differently. Gently invert the bottle, never spirit swab the seal, and we advise a fresh syringe per injection because the needles are so fine they can blood really, really quickly by the time you've put it into the bottle, put it into the animal, put it into the bottle again. The vet pen has 2.7ml cartridges. It's only available in one size. So the big dogs and little dogs will have the same size cartridges, although they'll have a slightly different calibrated pen. They still need to be stored in a cool area, but not necessarily in the fridge, as long as the cartridges are in use. They're not to be stored with the needle on. Storing them with the needle on allows air to trap back into the cartridge, and once you've prepped the cartridge to expel the air, you shouldn't need to do this again. They must be prepped with every new cartridge. So this is a simple routine of holding the pen upright and expelling the air as if you were injecting insulin. I'll talk about this later. Again, a new needle should be used per injection. This is because of how fine the needle is, but also for infection control. So I recommend getting your hands on a vet pen and having a play with it. Prepping the cartridge. This needs to be done with every new cartridge. So you need to dial back the black plunger by sort of winding it in, and then insert the cartridge. It should go gold tip end in first, and then screw it back together. Gently invert the pen and apply a needle on the top. Hold the pen vertically and dial up and expel the air bit by bit. I'd recommend probably only 1 to 2 units at a time. This might be quite time consuming, but if you dial it up lots of units and do hit the insulin, you can waste quite a lot of insulin quite quickly. You may get a few drops of insulin to begin with. This does not mean you've expelled all the air. You need to wait for a good flow of insulin to come out before you know you've expelled all the air bubbles. Use the windows in the pen to roll the cartridge around and double check for any air bubbles. When injecting, invert the pen again, gently each time, and dial up by the number of clicks if you like. The small pen is half a unit per 1 click, whereas the large pen is 1 click per whole unit. Slide and hold the button. It's important to hold the button in place until the dial has gone back to 0, and maybe a few seconds after for good measure. It's really important you do not grasp the dial. It's easily done, but the dial moving round is what injects the insulin, so it's important it's left free to flow. Remove the needle before storage so air does not track back into the pen.